Welcome to Phantasy Star II, a 30-year retrospective. I'll be honest, I never played through this game until last year.
That's okay.
So, I'm a bit of a newbie. Introduce myself, my name is Stephen E. Flask. I am an adjunct faculty member at Kent State University, Ashtabula. I teach composition, and I try to teach sneak literature in there, which I'm actually getting able to do now. I have a master's in English and a bachelor's in English from Youngstown State University, and a master's in higher education administration from the University of Akron. I am a writer, of course I'm a gamer, and I also work with teenagers through my youth group. Okay. Who has played Phantasy Star II? Yay! Who has beaten Phantasy Star II? Yeah. Okay.
Like years later.
Who has got at least halfway?
Okay.
When I rented it,
where did you get stuck at? Just so I have an idea.
The beginning.
Finding control.
It's pretty brutal and
Basically, Nate first.
Okay, Nate first.
Yeah, Nate first.
Nate first. Okay.
Well, when I rented it, like at first years ago, like first playing it, it was probably like after Nate first.
Okay.
And then it's like,
wait, now what?
Yeah, and it's like, wait, now what do I do?
Nate first is about a third through the game.
What?
Yes, that's about the. Yeah, the game's really divided into 3 phases. We'll talk about those. I guess the way I'm kind of picturing this is that we'll kind of just walk through the game to some extent. There's gonna be some spoilers, but since most of you haven't beaten it,
Okay.
we won't spoil the ending.
The game is 30 years old.
We'll see if we have time when we get to that.
Okay.
Let me just put it this way. It's a bit of a troll.
It's a cop-out.
Yeah, it's a downer.
It's so good though.
Just don't, it's not your happy Dragon Warrior but thou must or Final Fantasy ending, that's all I'm gonna say. Remember, this is a science fiction game not made for the Nintendo. Different audience, different intended people.
So refreshing.
Yeah. So this panel will include discussion and revealing of certain plot elements in Phantasy Star II that you may want to find out for yourself by playing through the game. This will probably be your only warning about this. Panel presenter is not liable for any feelings of disappointment, shock, or other emotions that you may feel as related to the storyline.
Oh, there's no change in my design.
Makes sense.
I assure you, my heart is
Right.
Spoil away.
Okay. So let's talk about the game first. It was released in Japan on March 21st, 1989. The only place I could find that actually said that was Wikipedia, which is kind of concerning. I checked some other sites. It was released in the US and Europe in 1990. So yeah, are we a year early for the US release? Yes, but let's start celebrating now. The game had 6 mega memory, which means it did not take full capability of the Genesis. But remember, at this point the Mega Drive had been out for about a year, maybe less. So games do not take. The longer a system is alive, the more time a game has to take full advantage of the system's capabilities and use all that space. The US version came with an instruction manual, a map, and a hint book that included maps of the dungeons. Who has played the game without those maps?
Liars. Every one of you.
I rented it, so it didn't have the manual.
Let me rephrase this. Who played it without the maps that came with it, but and looked them up online instead?
I looked them up online.
I looked them up. I wasn't gonna bring out the grid paper.
I looked it up, but I did not use it.
internet, so.
Yeah, okay.
How do you look up and not use it? I played it without it.
I didn't have the maps, but
So why is it still using it?
no, because
Yeah, I don't need the maps anymore because I've written down step-by-step instructions for everything.
Lots of steps. Lots
You
of
wanna know?
Okay, maybe not necessarily step-by-step, but I'll show you an example of that. Well, I'll show you pretty much how mine look. Phantasy Star II dungeon directions.
Go left, go right.
Oh man, back this up works.
Past the second elevator, yeah.
There we
Sure.
go.
Floor 1, west, north, east, south, west, teleport up 2. Floor 2, surrounded. That means that tells me that the teleport is surrounded by stuff. South, west, north. Now, how far you actually have to go, I just know that because I've played the game so many times, over the last year. That wouldn't help too many people.
Nope.
That's what I use now, instead of the maps. Yeah. So yeah, but apparently they thought that us here in the States, we would not be able to figure out the detailed maps of the game, and they're not your basic scroll. They scroll, yes, but they're not like your Dragon Warrior or your Final Fantasy style maps. They're a lot more. They're more complicated in some ways. And I have a very brief video I'll show you later, just wandering around the biosystems lab. And it's just like 20 seconds of it, and you can just see how stupidly complex it is. And that's like the third place.
But it's so fun.
So, Phantasy Star II is also available on the GBA and practically every Sega Genesis collection out there. So Steam, PS2, PS3, PS4,
Saturn.
The Dreamcast Smash collection.
the Dreamcast. Okay, Switch. It's on Switch too. Okay. The critical.
Vita.
Okay. It is. There's also a PS2 Japan only remake,
Generation
Woo!
2.
Yeah.
which has a New Game Plus mode, which changes some things, but those things that thing you need to change pretty much is a long laundry list of things you have to do.
Oh yeah.
The critical reception, from what I could see, looking over the reviews and stuff, was generally good. It was getting probably averaging between 7 and 9s at the time, depending on your rating system. Remember, this is before game came out. I said 1989, so this is before meta scoring and things like that. So, yeah. So, we want to see some gameplay videos for those who haven't played the game before.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully these won't take too long. I literally have like 12 minutes of stuff here, so I might fast forward through some of it.
Let's go.
So let's introduce the game here for those that aren't familiar with it. I recorded this in my hotel room here Wednesday.
Jesus.
Brought the capture card and everything.
I just want to play it.
Good blessings. Yes.
Let me just turn that up somewhere.
There we go. Whoa,
Also,
whoa.
yeah, by the way, my capture card does this thing where it likes to warp the sound, and I haven't figured out how to fix that yet, so.
That's some tracking. We got VHS going.
I use the Dazzle DV. I use the lower model Dazzle, so that's why. This is the second planet of the Algo system, Moda. There's 3.
That's actually 4.
Well, going on Phantasy Star 1, there's 3.
Yeah, because it was.
Moda, Desolus, and Parma / Palma.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 years have passed since the evil Lasik was defeated by Alice and friends.
Alice?
Get him, Alice.
By the way, Phantasy Star 1 is a very different game than Phantasy Star 2.
Oh yeah.
First-person dungeons.
Not fun. Hey.
That was
Love it.
3. Yeah.
You don't see those too often anymore.
What?
Since that time, Algo has prospered under the care of a giant computer called the Mother Brain. Not the same one in Metroid.
Not gonna be
Original character doing that, Steve.
Just about. In fact, this one's probably more evil.
Quiet, boy. You want to get sued?
She's that shit of yours. Oh, Willie Brown.
Longest opening ever.
Yeah. The Mother Brain created dome farms in the dry world mode so that crops would grow. Terraforming.
That's right, it's Latopia and it was a desert planet.
It would be palma farming. Here's the weird part.
But the people of the Algo system perhaps became soft in the long years of peace. So they got on a ship and Wally happened.
Now the ominous part is
I'm kidding.
No.
It is so ominous, this part.
No.
And now evil threatens the system again. Who will be able to unlock Algo's fateful secret?
Do it, Start getting
I'm gonna jump through part of this because it's like a 5-minute video. I don't want to spend all that time, but so we're also a main character,
That key change.
but for this purposes in here, you can only have it's 4-letter character limit. So
Yeah.
I am haunted by nightmares every night.
That jerk.
A young girl is battling a giant demon. I am close by but can't move or speak. All I can do is watch while the demon keeps striking at the girl. Just as she is fighting for her life, I awake.
Sexy, sexy time.
I awake in my room, dimly lit by the early dawn. I am filled with an incredible sadness and fear. I am Mag, an agent here in Paseo, the capital of Moda. I shake my head as if to scatter the remnants of the dream. I have no time to worry like a child about nightmares. In this modern age, especially with the mother brain planning and controlling all faster aspects of the environment, I open my window and take a deep breath of fresh air. It seems to wash away the bad feelings left by my dream. Welcome to the Good morning, Mag. How are you? Almost 2 years have passed since you started working for the commander of Moda. What I'm going to ask you to do will be the toughest job you have ever done, but it is vital to the future of Moda. As you know, Algo has been brought, I should have gone through this faster instead, up by Mother Brain. My work as commander has been to smoothly promote the plans of Mother Brain. I had believed that Mother Brain never makes mistakes, but those monsters all over Moda are just too much. We must find out by ourselves why these monsters were born, and how to bring them under control. Mag, your mission is to go to the Biosystems Lab and get the recorder. If we look into the data, we can figure out how the Biosystems Lab ended up making those monsters. I hope from the bottom of my heart that you come back safely with the recorder. By the way, this is the only guy that works for the government that trusts you with the game. The only one.
You mean the only government guy you actually see? Not yet.
After going home and preparing for the trip, Nay seemed worried. Nay, I have to leave for a while. Nay stared at me for a moment. I remember when we first met. She looked at me in just the same way. That was 7 months ago. Because she was the product of a mixture of human cells and those of a biomonster, she was an outcast from society. You were still small when we first met, but now you can take care of yourself. I'm going on a dangerous journey. Too dangerous for you. I worry about you like you were my sister. Still, Nay stood in the doorway to keep me from leaving. Please, Mag, take me with you. I'll do anything for you.
Bound to go out,
I took my sack and started to go, but Nay still blocked the way. I had no choice. I decided to let her come with me. So, we're gonna head off, and I'm gonna fast forward this a bit here because it's just wandering around. Yes. Usually your first couple battles in RPG are pretty easy, right? You know, your blue slimes, your whatever's, things like that.
That's what says otherwise.
By the way, Nate is set by default not to attack.
Get wasted here.
You might want to press something.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. And
Must be cool.
no, Meg, no. You can do it, Meg. What?
By the way, she's actually one of the best fighters in the game if you give her the right stuff.
You're the only one.
But as an example here, I didn't do that.
And over. Wasted.
First battle.
That went poorly. No, that was Phantasy Star II, right?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. So, the way the battle system works, you don't actually have, all you have to do is push a command once and it will automatically do that. Whatever you tell it to do over and over and over again. Unless something happens to your character or you hit a button to stop the turn order. During the turn order, then you can get new commands. That's why I wasn't hitting anything. Also, I might have wandered into the second enemy zone instead of staying around the first. But this is pretty much what happens a lot during Phantasy Star II. It's a game where it's a grind fest. And I think it's more like Dragon Quest than Final Fantasy because of that. Who has played through the first Dragon Warrior? Okay. What level were you at when you beat the dragon?
30.
30? That's the max.
Dang.
I did it around 20 or 21.
How's it going?
That's about the lowest you can do it at. Yeah.
Need that heal more.
Like Phantasy Star II, Dragon Warrior is very, very, very grinding dependent. I have more experience than that with the first two Final Fantasies. When I say the first two, I mean the original NES one and the first one, second one for the Famicom, because the other ones weren't out yet when Phantasy Star came out. But from my experience, this is more similar to Dragon Quest. Is there a lot of dungeons like Final Fantasy? Yes, but there's not a lot of bosses like Dragon. Like Dragon Warrior has few bosses. Phantasy Star II has few bosses. Final Fantasy tends to give you more direction. Phantasy Star II is like, here's 6 places you can go at once, like Dragon Warrior, and you just kind of figure out, well, I should be here, I shouldn't be here. So yeah, it's a grind fest.
Depending on which version you get.
Yeah. Okay. I did not take that into account. Can you explain that a bit?
Certain collections have you get XP boost, money boost, and like faster walk speed and everything.
Okay.
Which ones?
I think it was the PS2 one. Oh, it's I can't
Oh, wait,
remember.
that's only applies to the anniversary one.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
collection ones.
Okay. Yeah.
It's called, let's put this, just a second.
So, music, sound, graphics. People have said this game hasn't aged well, some in terms of maybe the graphics and difficulty and stuff. I tend to disagree with them, but then I've always been a big Sega Genesis fanboy, so I'm very biased. So what do we think? Has it aged well? Has it not? Let's get some opinions and thoughts in here. Raise your hand, speak up.
Yeah, music's still
good.
fantastic and
Okay.
it looks good too still.
In terms of the character art, I really, really, really miss it just because it really is a product of its time there.
Yeah.
You're not going to see any art like it.
Anymore.
Yeah.
By the way, if you want to see the box art, look it up yourself. I meant to bring my copy with me, but I forgot. You'll see some of the most... Video game box art was very questionable back then because basically, okay, it's similar to the original Mega Man covers for the first couple games, where pretty much they gave the drawing whoever did the cover to someone that had no clue about the game.
My brother's texting me the image right now, so I haven't.
Yes.
You don't want to see it. It's real American.
Internets.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna admit, it does look nice.
Yep. It's really X-Fest.
Oh man.
It's almost like a messed up looking dunes in there because I see desert, but there's
Yeah, it
no
looks like-
desert.
it almost looks like the cover of
Dune.
Dune.
67.
No.
Yeah.
The thing is, the Japanese box art isn't that and much horns. better.
No,
It
it's
looks
not.
like
No,
it
Nick,
looks like Rolf and Nate just wandered onto Arrakis all of a sudden.
Yeah, that art stuff took me
Yeah.
a long time.
So yeah, I think it holds up well, but maybe that's just me.
Always better.
You also have 4 to think about.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. Remember, Phantasy Star IV came out several years later, and when people were the developers were a lot more familiar with the Genesis. The Genesis was not the easiest system to program for, from what I've heard. It wasn't as hard as the Saturn, but in order to get a lot out of the Genesis, you had to spend a lot more time than you would have probably with what Nintendo had sent to their developers. This is from what I've heard and read and understood. Especially with the sound. Pretty much you had to make your own sound engine, or use gems if you were here in the States. And those sound engines were not easy to create from what I've seen. I'm not a tech wizard though, so yes.
Well, I know the Genesis had a 68,000 chip, and that was like a pretty standard chip back in the days.
Yes, and it also had the chip from the Master System in it as well,
Yeah.
and it could actually use both at the same time.
Oh, what?
But you had to know how to do it, and that was the thing. So, any other thoughts on this part before we move on? Yes.
I remember being surprised at the behind the back that was set up and the still pretty good looking sort of animations when a character takes action, because I know I've seen that in Western games, but that's still very uncommon.
Oh, yeah.
RPGs.
Yeah.
I think it looks very nice.
Oh yeah,
Most of
yeah.
them do it.
A lot of pretty much most of the enemies and stuff have very specific animations and stuff. Especially the one that comes to mind is always the rabbits whose guts keep coming out of them. Yeah. The only other games I can think of where the combat enemies were doing that were the 2 Lunar games for the Sega CD, where a lot of their characters would have animations and stuff too, and would actually be telling you what they were about to do. By the way, all the battles are look just like that one on that very Tron-like grid there. Very different than what you have in Phantasy Star 1, which was first-person view, very different in Phantasy Star 3, where you never see your characters, and in the Japanese version, you have a ton of parallax scrolling going on. And different than Phantasy Star 4, where you kind of get everything from 2 and 3 together. Okay, so let's meet the playable characters. This game gives you a lot of choices. For those that played Phantasy Star 3, they're always like, okay, here's your party. Here's who you're stuck with. Kind of like Final Fantasy IV for the Super NES. The game's like, okay, here's your characters. We'll take them when we want. We'll give you them when you want. Phantasy Star 2, you start with Rolf and Nay. As you go to each village, to each city, if you go back home, someone just shows up at your door to join you.
Hey, I want a job.
Well, all these characters have jobs already except for May. Rolf is a government. The game actually tells you what their jobs are. You can find in the stats screen, sometimes they'll describe it. These jobs don't really mean anything, it's just something to give them more character. I read recently a web article, and I wish I would have put it up here, that talked about how it's actually more realistic the way recruiting works in this game than in most RPGs, because people are generally like, I've heard what you're doing, I like what you're doing, I want to join the fight. So we start with Rolf and Nay. Rudo joins in after a bit. He's pretty much your gun guy, your powerhouse in the game.
Can't use magic.
He cannot use any type of magic whatsoever, or techniques, as the game calls it. He's a hunter. His job is to hunt, if I remember correctly. Then you have Amy. Amy's a doctor. She's good at healing. She has good healing spells, and she can actually pack a decent punch if you give her the right weapons.
What?
Yep.
Yes. Especially fire staffs.
That's a stone fan.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's different.
Fire staffs are also a pain to get because you have to have sure steel on most of the time.
Yeah, but fire set just giving.
And we'll talk about sure her steel in here in a bit. Later on, Anna joins. Anna is pretty much the female equivalent of Rudo, except she can use battle technique points.
Her job in the original is called a counter hunter because hunters also have bad reps in being.
Yes. I think they define her as a guardian in the American version, and she has these really cool weapons that hit every single enemy, depending on their grouping at least.
Yes, the group.
Yes. Then you have Hugh. Hugh is a biologist. He's also a pacifist. Why he wants to join the fight? Has anyone used Hugh?
Oh, a little bit.
Tell us about your Hugh experience.
You give him a lot of items, or rather, you just let him heal.
Okay.
Heal
It's kind of
items.
like Amy in some ways.
Yeah, he can't really do much damage.
Yeah.
He's just kind of bad.
Yeah.
Oh, he can
He's
use
like-
some weapons that others can't. He can use the maces.
He's kind of like Tele from Final Fantasy IV, except without the spells. He's basically stuck.
It's like using Han in Final Fantasy or Phantasy Star 4, where you just want the hardest challenge.
He's actually more useful in terms of damage than straight up hitting people than Kane, because he can use maces. Kane cannot.
Coming as a complete outsider, this sounded really interesting as a panel, but you have a hunter, then you have Anna who hunts hunters with the
Yes.
Am I hearing this correctly?
And yes, and in the fan fiction, her and the hunter get married.
I thought Rudo was a soldier, but I could be wrong.
He was a soldier. He was a
Yes,
soldier.
there is fan fiction that is written that takes place after this game.
You're going to get into the
But
adventure games, right? Later on, I guess. Give all the backstories to all of them.
yeah, there are text adventures for these games that only come out in Japan, and I think maybe on the same. They only come out in Japan at some point. They have been translated. You can. I'll leave it up to you to get them, if you wish.
By however means, listed as they are.
Yeah. I won't tell you how.
But they're fantastic because they give so much depth and backstory behind these guys.
Yeah. So Kane will join you at some point if you decide to use him. Kane is good for fighting robots.
Look at that smug face.
That's about it.
And they gave him a hick accent. A hick.
Yes. Then you have Sure. Sure is the last person who will join your party. She's a thief.
Thief!
She will. If you walk into a store, there's a good chance that she might steal something.
Good chance, little chance.
Little chance depending on what, and it depends on what it is. The biggest problem is you have to go back to your house to find her afterwards.
Even
So if she does this on the second planet, you better have some telepipes with you.
How did she get that?
She stole a telepipe.
She can also steal the Visiphone. Has anyone used the Visiphone before?
All the freaking time.
You have
The
to.
Visiphone lets you save anywhere.
Oh,
It's
good stuff.
essentials.
Because if not, you have to go to a town, find the data place, and save from there. The Visiphone is great, especially when you're about to get killed by something.
We all
Like available really early on.
No, only as soon as you get share.
Yeah.
Right, but it's
Yeah,
like
you have
as
to go
soon as you
through
get
the
share, you can get the
level
visitor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Early.
She has a better chance of stealing that than some other things in the game, but
Let's go for that straight away.
I had a good chance
When
with
she
this.
steals from a shop, is it just gone from when you can buy, or is it added to your inventory?
what she actually steals is almost never actually part of the store's stock.
Yeah. Like Star
Okay,
News.
exactly.
Yeah.
Better items
I'm
are
sorry, Star Miss.
Yeah.
Moon news.
Yeah, Star Miss and Moondews are pretty much your Phoenix Downs and your
All heal.
All Heals. You can't buy them anywhere.
You find them.
You find them or she steals them for you.
Oh,
Or you glitch Rolf's inventory and pull them out and stick them in the control tower. In the central tower at the beginning of the game. So these are your characters. They all have different jobs which pretty much don't have too much of. We just have something like Sheer is a thief, she'll steal. Kane is a mechanic, so he's good at taking apart robots.
He's a wrecker.
He's
Yeah,
a wrecker,
it's
yes,
because
wrecker.
He's a wrecker because he failed as a mechanic, so he ends up destroying.
So,
And made that his job.
now, at first when you get him, he's not very useful because there are no mechanical things to wreck. When we get to the second phase of the game, that changes. The encounter rate also jumps up by about probably 25% at that point too. This game has a nasty random encounter rate. We're talking like you can go 2-step spike, 2-step spike, 2-step spike.
A little more than 2 steps. But
Okay, 2.5. And these fights can take a long time. Your characters will never naturally be doing probably more than 150 to 200 points of damage probably the entire game. Most of these, and by the end of the game, these enemies will have health in the thousands and things like that. So you're not going to be getting like 9999s and things like that. In fact, if you hit over 256, your damage rolls over back to 1.
whoa, what?
Yes.
Video game.
Yep. That good old 256 number limitation. I don't completely understand it, but it's there.
It's something to do with infinite energy.
Yeah.
It's integer overflow.
Yeah.
There's that number is stored in a space that can only hold that space,
Yes.
and when it goes over, it just starts counting over again.
Okay. So these are the characters. We talked about the parties before. My legitimate final party was Rolf, because Rolf's like Cloud. You have to bring him with you everywhere, whether you want to or not. So Rolf, Anna, Rudo, and Amy that was my final party. Rolf was about level 33 when I beat the game.
Ooh, good job.
Yeah, it took a few tries, but I did it. But yeah. So the game's divided into 3 phases in terms of what's going on storyline-wise. We saw the introduction of the first phase, which is, hey, Mother Brain's is letting monsters roam around. This isn't good for people. Why is she doing this? Stop her. So this is divided into 6 different dungeons. Most of them take place indoors. You can add actually a half dungeon to climate troll. Before that, you have to walk underwater for a while, thanks to bubblegum. That lets you breathe under there. Mount Uzo is outdoors. To give you an idea of what these dungeons can be like, note the overhead bars concealing half the stuff going on.
It's 3D!
It was a cool effect.
I'm already lost.
Yeah, this is the Biosystems lab, and I'm actually heading backwards.
Vortex is in
This is also off the glitch file.
the older cousin to
Poison Earth. This is my glitch file here, so Rolf is impotent because he has no stats to do anything with anymore.
You know,
So we'll keep walking. Oh, there's a bar there. Can barely see it. Go back the other way. So imagine that over and over and over again.
Okay.
Yeah. These are mazes. These are multi-floor mazes. That dungeon had you go up to the top to get an item you need to get through the other side of the top, then drop all the way down to the bottom.
Is that the one with the dynamite?
Can you repeat that?
Was that the one with the dynamite?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah. Well, yeah. You need dynamite to get through the first several dungeons. Then you never need dynamite again.
And you also get a worthless character.
True.
Totally worthless.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire game. Right? Hugh is garbage.
Yeah, but you don't have to use them.
Oh, you missed it. We already bashed you.
Oh,
Yeah.
you already.
Yeah, we already talked about Star.
Has his uses.
Yes.
Sorry.
Alright, I have to say one of the coolest designed dungeons and also the most frustrating is the one where there's like a million pitfalls. You have to take the
Well,
right
you know what sucks about Hugh though is
Are we talking about
That would be a
Are we talking about? Are we talking about? I think is it Ikudo? I think.
No, it's Blue Dam.
I actually try to
Well,
build.
there's Blue Dam. Yeah, Blue Dam's got a lot of that. Red Dam actually has some of that, and then there's Ikudo on Desolus. I think.
Yeah.
I try to build up Hugh.
Or
I
there's like
actually
four of them.
did.
I always get those two mixed up.
Anybody else try to build up Hugh? Because I tried to.
No.
He sucks.
He's the only one who can arm.
So, anyways, so what's happened is, so you're trying to get to the Biosystems lab. Good idea, except there's this guy standing on a bridge that won't let you pass because his daughter's been kidnapped.
Oh yeah.
So you have to go to her first to find the key, to find the stuff that will let you get to his daughter, who is stashed in Nido Tower. You go to get her, and she decides, and you put a veil on her because people are trying to find her because they're mad at her dad because he's not letting anyone get across that part of the continent.
And
So
then,
you take her to her dad.
and then she becomes an item.
She becomes an item.
Yeah, you
And
can.
her name actually, if you rearrange the letters, is item. So her name's Team, like T-E-I-M or something like that, or T-I-E-M.
I just, oh my god.
So her name is literally, can be item. So she decides to go say hi to, her dad. She keeps the veil on, and he does what he's doing to everyone else. He kills her. Then he blows himself up. And you're given this nice sad thing of saying, this has been happening all over the planet. We have to figure out why Mother Brain is letting this happen. So you finally get the Biosystems lab, you get the recorder. Hey, you find out that Climatrol's going nuts, which is supposed to control the climate and stuff, and apparently there's something weird going on there. Remember, this planet has been terraformed in some ways, or motiformed, whatever you want to call it. It used to be a desert. So there's pretty much no rain, little water. So things are kind of weird. So you go through it. You have to get a jet ski from some people that live pretty much in a junk heap. Then you go to Mount Uzo and get some leaves, get some breathable gum, and then you go to Climatrol. So, major spoiler 1. Eris was not the first major character to die in a video game and not come back as a ghost.
Yeah, seriously.
Truth.
Too soon, man.
Who?
Truth.
Nay.
Hey.
Oh, why is that not surprising?
Hey.
Nay. Yes,
I called it Nia.
yeah, I've heard it Nei, I've seen it, I've heard it Nei, I've heard several different things. I don't know how to pronounce it, to be honest.
Japanese, it's Nick.
Okay.
No, when I was a kid.
So,
Nia.
remember back in 1997 when Sephiroth took just sliced, but he, ran her right through and everything, and then she died somehow, maybe by drowning, maybe by, we don't know for sure, depends on the theories. In 1989, Nay bit the dust way beforehand, and unlike Tella and other people, she doesn't come back as a ghost or anything to talk to you.
You can bring her back though.
You can bring her back in the Japanese PS2 version.
Yes.
When I was 10, I seem to recall you have Shears, you have some Moon Dew, you can bring her back.
No.
You can do that, but I'll show you what eventually happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please do.
Wait,
So,
you could bring it back.
what happens is, you're supposed to fight, you're going to run into someone called Nay first. You're supposed to fight Nay first with Nay, and Nay first is going to kill Nay unless you're at level 50 or something like that, because Nay first is just that overpowered.
Or use 25 freaking Trimates.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that video. It's
But-
great.
Wait, what?
You could just keep using Trimates.
Yeah. That was a good video.
Oh, you also have to be lucky.
So Nay first was born 2 years ago. She's a product of a biosystem experimenting combining humans with animals. The people felt the experiment was a failure and they tried to kill her. She escaped and stole DNA system from the biosystem. She created monsters to wreak revenge on the people who carelessly and selfishly played with life. There's another Nay within her, one who's trying to stop her. What do you know? It's the Nay that's been in your party the whole game. Nay separated from Nay first, pretty much. Think of it kind of, well, maybe the explanation I gave wasn't going to be good. So this is what happens when you can actually beat Nay first. My Nay here has been glitch leveled up to level 50. That's as far as she can go. Unfortunately, her damage is actually overrolling in some points, because she should be doing more than that. But to fast forward this a bit. Okay, Nay eventually beats her.
It's amazing that they built that into.
Unfortunately, my capture card crashed after that point, so
Why would
normally
they
what
actually
happens?
program? Why would they actually program that you can actually beat it?
I don't know. So
Maybe an engine.
one of two things happens when Nay first either wins or Nay wins. One, you get this screen. If you lost, Nay says, "I can't beat her. It's too hard. Beat her for me," and then your party gets the crap kicked out of them by Nay first. Who you do have to beat to continue the game. Or if you beat her, Nay says, "I beat her, but if Nay first dies, I die because we're the same being." So one way or the other, she's gone, and we're sad. And they go to, so in this game, when you die, you can be cloned back to life for an exorbitant amount of money if you're Nay. Except for this point, Tom. Yeah. Instead, the clone lady's like, "There's some nice flowers up there in the hill. Just bury her over there and be happy she had a nice long life." Well, all of a year or 7 months or whatever it is. So Nay's gone. And the bio monsters are gone too. And they're replaced with robots, because Mother Brain's like, "Hey, I'll tell you why. After Nay first dies, Climatrol goes nuts, and the whole planet floods. Guess who gets blamed for this? You. So your boss is like, "Okay, find a way into some dams and open them up so we can get some water moved around here and not kill everyone." So we enter phase 2, where you're being hunted by Mother Brain with robots, which take a lot longer to kill than bio monsters. So we're in phase 2. Damn that river. So you start in the central tower, which has a row full of teleporters on the second floor, on the second floor, first and second floor, and is pretty good. Then you have to go to a red dam, a yellow dam, a blue dam, and a green dam. Oof. In whatever order you choose. That is the suggested game order. The blue dam is probably harder than the green one.
Yeah.
Eventually, you end up. Okay, so who here did not make it past the dams? Just out of curiosity.
I couldn't make it past Climatrol, so.
Okay, yeah. If you can't make it past Climatrol, you can't get past the dams unless you are doing the 80% speed run where you bypass Climatrol and go straight to the central tower.
You could do that, huh?
Oh, also, in order to get through the central tower, you have to learn music. How to play music.
Yeah.
To what
Yeah,
extent?
Excuse me?
To what extent do you have to learn the music?
You pay a guy a high amount of money, even more, less if you're a guy, more if you're a girl, and then you pretty much use it like a spell.
Yep.
And you automatically play it.
Yep.
Because these guys are cute.
So, yes. Bruce Vestia, the guy that teaches you the music, he'll say that, in the American version, he'll say that the guy looks smart and he'll give you a discounted price. In the Japanese version, translated out to he looks cute and gives you a discounted price.
Makes sense.
Yes, remember, 1989.
We all knew it. Back in '89.
There's no hiding it with that mustache.
Yeah.
You can look a picture of him if you want to. You can even spell starts with the U. Anyway, so you get through these dams, and then you get captured by Mother Brain, who puts you on a prison satellite. And you're the only prisoners, of course, on said satellite. So, who wants to... Should I spoil what happens with that prison satellite?
Yes.
Everyone goes home happily, and nothing happens to any of the planets.
That's right.
Yes, it's all just a dream.
So also do not run into the descendant of a character
This game's
from
like
the first
30 years old.
Fantasy Star.
Okay, this will be the last major spoiler.
Spoil the game.
The satellite crashes into one of the planets and destroys it.
The major one.
We lose Palma. So all that work you did in Phantasy Star 1 1,000 years ago, it's for nothing. Get rid of it. Now, the interesting thing is that when that planet is destroyed, some of the people from that, a lot of people from that will escape. That has something to do with another game in the series. I won't spoil that one. But if you played it, you already know.
Nobody's gonna play 3, dude.
I'm playing 3 today.
Don't play 3, man.
I played 3 and got all 4 ideas.
Enjoy 3.
So
3 is a good game.
Just play for it.
Just play 4, yeah.
3 is awful.
3 is not, don't, 3 is trying to be, 3 was trying to be like Castlevania 2. It was trying to be different.
That was
It was
fair.
trying to be Xenogears.
3 is shit.
3 is trying to be Xenogears before Xenogears.
I know. That's the joke.
You will not pull your hair out trying to get through 3, I will tell you that though, like you will with 2. Okay, but that's 3. Maybe I can convince the powers that be to let us do something for the 30th anniversary of that. But also 3 was developed by a completely different team, so I think it's at the same time as Phantasy Star 2.
Cool overworld music.
Yes, the overall music's really cool because as you add characters to your party, it adds it adds to the song. So anyway, so Palma is destroyed. Guess who gets blamed for that as well? You do. So it's time to go to the remaining planet Desolus. You find a spaceship and you go to find a Esper guy named Lutz, who's like, hey, here's an item that will let you go into these ruins and stuff so you can find these Nay weapons. And items. They're all like, so you have to go through some very intricate dungeons and then you eventually end up on, yes?
Is Lutz Noah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lutz, they call him Lutz in the American version for some reason, which is weird because then the name of the last dungeon is the spaceship Noah. So I guess they didn't want to have 2 Noahs.
Well, in the Japanese version of the first game, Noah's name is Lutz.
Okay.
And then his mind is passed down from generation.
Okay.
So Noah is...
Though this Lutz / Noah that you meet has been like cryogenically sleeping for a long time. Yes. And when you actually go to wake him up, the person's like, I really think this is a bad idea. You shouldn't do this. You're like, he's been sleeping for so long, just let him sleep. But he didn't seem to be too bothered by it. He's like, yeah, I knew you'd come here at some point. So, anyways. Yes.
Don't forget, they also drops the bombshell and says you're a descendant of the character.
Yeah. You're a descendant of Alice. Which is why you keep having nightmares about her losing a fight that she didn't actually lose, right?
No, you see her getting wailed on about
Yeah.
it.
Would it be cool if you joined the party?
Yeah. Well, hey, you got Alice in Phantasy Star 4.
Lies.
Briefly.
It's like a different Alice.
Yeah, the spaceship. Well, I won't tell you what happens at the end of the spaceship because I don't want to spoil the ending. I really don't. It's,
Too late.
You mean when hundreds of humans just
Yep, stop.
What about before that?
Yeah, let's talk about Dark Force, the penultimate boss.
Dark Falls.
Okay. Who had trouble with Dark Force?
Everyone had trouble with
Everyone.
Dark Force.
I didn't.
Who wants to explain the Dark Force fight in Phantasy Star 2?
RNG the
I
game.
think that fight was one of the best.
It's just annoying.
Like
that's all.
classic.
Okay, so here's what Dark Force does, okay?
Who the hell's using shear?
This is my glitched party. Basically, I took the stats from the male characters and I used that to glitch over and buff everything on the female characters.
I gotcha.
That's why I'm using sheer. So she's hitting like 100, 150 per hit
All right.
or something.
Saying that.
Yeah,
I don't
that's.
think anybody used that.
Well, I didn't know that. It doesn't actually display the damage you do.
Yeah, it doesn't actually. Well, in other battles, I compare. Okay, so this is Dark Force. He's in Phantasy Star 1. I'll be honest, he's in all the first 4 Phantasy Stars in some form or another. No surprise, he lives in a treasure chest. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
You open it up, bang, he's there. So here's how this battle works. He has a couple things he'll do. He has an attack that damages everyone, and he'll also possess one of your characters. He goes in order of whoever is the slowest. One of 8 different things will happen to that character. Maybe they won't fight. Maybe they'll hit less. Maybe they'll try to steal from everyone else and won't do anything. Eventually, you can have a party of 4 characters that can do nothing, and he just wails on you. If you're lucky, the Nace Sword activates, and you can fight again.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, it's completely random. No way to prep it or anything.
Huh.
So either you can walk through this fight, or you could spend 15 minutes on it, and then all of a sudden you can't do a thing, and it's done. And this is why you need the Visiphone. Hence the Great Troll. Every RPG has one, usually as a super boss, except this one's not optional. You
so
can't.
The entire fight is RNG?
Yes, the entire fight is RNG. And you cannot skip him. His treasure chest is right on your path, and you can't go around it.
Yep.
It freaked me out when he came out of the chest, because I played the first game, and I thought that was weird, and then when I got to the chest, I thought it looked weird, but then he came out again.
And then when you get to Phantasy Star 3, at the end, it's like,
I knew he was
hey.
going to
It's like some random chest.
Oh yeah, it's a random chest, because there's like 6 chests like along the side of this room here, at the room at the end of 3, and it's like you click one, and all of a sudden like it goes dark, and he pops up out of the ground.
What a
and you're
shitty
like,
fucking game.
It was with it.
Don't talk shit.
Fantasy Star 3 is
Are you
garbage.
gonna do lots of
oh.
shots?
So, who wants to get to the real final bosses?
Will we know?
Then
on.
understanding on this question.
What?
The
So
humans.
it's 4.
The humans.
It was me all along. Oh,
The
right.
Mother Brain, of course, because who's been causing all this trouble in some way? Mother
Hey, yo,
Brain.
that's a legitimate party you got there, Fonz.
This is my legitimate. I grinded up to this party.
There you go.
It took. I think I started this in November of 17, and I finished it in
November.
May of 18. So
Oh, wow.
I didn't play it for a couple months, but I got really upset. I got kind of stuck at Minobi, and I didn't want to have to grind again, but I did so. So she flashes colors and everything. It looks really cool. I can't really get that on here. Why she has 4 arms, I don't know, but yeah. Here's Mother Brain. She'll attack one of her characters. She'll attack all of them. She's a lot easier. It seems okay. Whoever does not want to talk about the ending.
One person.
1 in the morning, we're here, let's talk about it.
No, close your eyes.
Can you cover
puppies,
yours
go
for a couple
la, la, la,
minutes?
la.
Walk out.
Okay, so this is also going to spoil Phantasy Star 3.
Okay. It's Phantasy Star 3.
So you beat Mother Brain, and okay, you got a potential climate problem out because everything's going to go to crap on the planets, and no one's going to know what to do because all independence has been gone for the last several thousand years. As I said, it's kind of like WALL-E, where where a computer is doing everything for you. Except this has a lot more graver consequences, as seen in Phantasy Star 4.
Everyone was fine.
It's like a large
Great.
terraforming project that Mother Brain's overseeing.
Yeah,
Killer.
but Mother Brain. Yeah, but the question is, who built Mother Brain?
Nice.
It turns out in the back of the spaceship, there's about 100 or so humans. The last humans, who happen to hop on a ship that happened to be floating by at the end of one of the Phantasy Star 3 endings. Who time traveled or whatever and eventually found you. And decided that, hey, we like your planets, let's take them for ourselves.
Really bastard.
Yes?
So now, I remember that Phantasy Star 3 ending where they, the people on like the spaceship find...
Yeah, it's like, this is London, well, this is calling from London, you know.
Third planet.
Yeah, I want to say it's Aiden's ending, I think. I can never remember the character.
Aaron or something.
There are 4 different endings to Phantasy Star 3.
I want to say God bless for you to even go that far in that game. That game sucked.
I said there's 4 different endings.
When you're 10 years old and there's not a lot of RPGs released in America.
I got it for Christmas, man.
Yeah, right.
So,
You get to pick a wife.
Beat Mother Brain, there's a bunch of humans there who time traveled from
And
next
then they decide to attack you.
But do they say they time travel from 3, or is that just kind of like...
I think it's kind of inferred that, or maybe they didn't time travel. Maybe if they didn't time travel, they found their way there eventually. Yes?
So, unless I'm mistaken, I'm pretty sure the humans here have just left the Andromeda system, or the original human solar system, and are just looking for a new system.
Yeah, because they
And then in Phantasy
Yes.
Star 3, all the
Because
ships
Phantasy
are...
Star, in Phantasy Star 3, you're on a ship, one of the ships that left Parma right before it exploded.
Right.
Your character doesn't know this because Phantasy Star 3 looks like a fantasy game. Until you get into some of the dungeons, which are actually the tunnels connecting each different part of the ship. There's like 9 or 10 different sections to the ship, 9 different like territories, each with its own like king or things like that. And like no one knows what's going on until all of a sudden you end up on a moon and you're like, hey, you know, what's that? Oh, that's where we've been this whole time. So one of those ends up there, and I think you're right because Phantasy Star 3 takes place a good 1,000, 2,000 years after Phantasy Star 2. So you're probably right, they probably did just have them meander over there. So what happens is, you do what you're going to do, small game, you're going to fight. Now the question is, do your characters survive or not? We don't know.
Dun, dun, dun.
According to the fanfiction, they do.
What?
Chaz exists.
Yeah, Chaz exists, but we don't know.
Cloning's a thing.
Cloning's a thing. Cloning's a thing in Phantasy Star 2.
We're fine.
Yeah.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like that the game ends with the 100 humans attacking you and it cuts there.
Yep.
Yes, you get a picture of each character saying something, then a picture of Wolf gritting his teeth, then someone lines, I wonder what people will think of years from now or something.
Yeah.
And then you get some really
Somber.
very somber, very atonal for a video game music. And that's the end.
Yep.
It's kind of like Blade Runner. All of a sudden, like, this was really good, and then you're like, I don't feel too why do I feel so sad after, or upset after this, you know, everything was going great, and then it's, oh.
What a game, huh?
Yeah.
Jesus. I feel bad for anybody who hasn't played Phantasy Star 2.
Yeah, if you haven't played it, I suggest you do, even though we just talked about it, please. That's why we're here. I'm trying to promote this great game. I thought there maybe be 3 people here, to be honest, so,
What the hell?
so this was a lot better than I expected, and I appreciate it, because it tells me that people did take this game seriously. So, let's hear some questions, some more comments, some more concerns. Yes?
As somebody who started with Phantasy Star Online, this is all just blowing my mind right now.
Okay, so, the first 4 finals, why do I keep on saying Final Fantasy?
Whoa! Whoa!
The first 4 Phantasy Star games have very little bearing on Phantasy Star Online.
Yeah, I'm learning that.
Play more.
Yes.
Four is many. Get worse.
Play all 4 of them.
Play 3.
Boo.
Honestly, 3. I actually played through 3 before I played through 2.
Starfall.
I played through 3 twice before I played through 2.
Games on Planet Rego, but it's not confirmed.
Yes.
Has anybody here played the Game Gear ones? I liked Adventure, even though like, you could beat it in like 15 minutes.
I have not played the Game Gear ones.
It's silly with the mechanics. You have to be a certain level there in order to be able to use said weapon. Or
Kind of like Soul Blazer.
Have any of you guys played the
Gaiden was
text
really
adventures?
bad though.
Anybody play the text adventures?
They're so great.
So cool to like figure out the like.
Yeah. All the backstories and everything.
Yeah, as I said, they have been translated, so if you don't want to learn how to read Japanese, you can play them. If you're all smart, you know how to do it.
Well, that's an assumption.
You can borrow it from the internet.
Also, I have seen cartridges with all 8 text adventures in them. Not here, but I have seen them before.
Repros?
Yes.
Oh, shite.
And you hit reset, and you hit reset to go to the next story, pretty much. So.
Best song in the game.
Best song in the game.
Best song in the game, yeah.
Death Palace.
Who's the best character?
Honestly, I actually do like the Final Boss theme. Final Boss theme is fantastic.
I really like, I think my favorite song is probably Violation. And I only say that because when it was coming through my Genesis, it was not sounding the way it was supposed to, because if you notice, my Genesis overdoes the bass a bit. Bass drum, because it's not one of the good motherboards. So when I actually heard how Violation was supposed to sound, which is the song you hear for all the Phase 3 dungeons, I was blown away by how good it actually was, because I wasn't hearing it correctly.
I kind of dig the tune that was where you get the chewable leaf.
Oh, Secret Ways.
Yeah, Secret Ways.
Yeah.
Final Dungeon theme?
It's probably the only happy dungeon theme in the game.
Yeah, well,
It's
not happy. It's just kind of lost.
Yeah, but it's one of the more positive. Let me put it this way: compared to the other dungeon themes, it's definitely a lot more relaxed feeling than the other ones. The other ones are like. Secret Ways is kind of like.
I think Mystery sounds more positive.
How many of you guys use Kane? Continue to use Kane throughout.
Just one little thing, just
like
you said this correctly, it sounds like in Phantasy Star II you're progressively making things worse.
Yes, which is actually Mother Brain's plan all along, and you're just getting blamed for it.
Kicking the fall.
Yes. And as I said at the beginning, the only person in the government that trusts you is the commander of Moda.
The one guy.
And he's like, he's pretty much like, we're doing this off the book. And I don't think you don't really realize that until after I was like, the army's after you, but I need you to do this anyways. It takes the army a long time to find you, by the way. It actually takes just as long. They won't find you until you open up the 4th dam.
How convenient.
And it's possible to run from that encounter. But then the game soft locks, and you can't do anything.
Just by hitting run?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, it's a very low chance.
Get the hell out of here, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I've never pulled it off, and you can't actually defeat them either, because after about 3 or 4 rounds, they have so many hit points that even when you're overstated and stuff,
There's a Game Genie cheat that allows you to one-shot enemies.
I cannot find the Game Genie codes for this game.
There is a Game Genie code for that to one-shot your enemies.
Okay.
Time to replay.
That would help. That would help.
Immensely.
Anything else?
Generations 2, how do we get an A?
Yeah, so if you're playing the PS2 remake, Generations 2, in order to get an A, I think one thing you have to do is you have to talk to everyone like multiple times, and there's a whole ton of stuff you have to do. Oh, you have to beat the game first. You can bring back an A on a new game plus. Yes.
You have to
beat Generation 1 also.
Yeah.
So this is all of a sudden getting into like very, very complicated territory for what was originally a very simple game.
How did people figure this out?
They were bored.
I have no idea.
So they were unemployed.
Yeah.
But it was never translated, right? It's
It was not given an official release here. It has been translated.
Unofficially.
Yeah.
RomHacking.net. They have it. They have the translations there.
PS Cave.
Yeah, PS Cave.
Yeah, just chick who runs a YouTube channel. You can
PS Cave also will give you access to all those nice maps and stuff that you might not have for this game.
It came out in like 2006 or 2007.
No, or later than that.
Yeah.
No, because I was looking at redone art of Famers. It was 2000.
Oh, you're talking about I thought you were talking about the translations.
I just like to
you
say.
were right, but I was looking at it originally, it hadn't been translated, and I was like, fuck.
I'd like to say that I was amazed to see this as a panel.
Yeah.
And Phantasy Star II gets a really bad rap because people play it now, and you got to grind a lot.
Yeah.
You do like a lot
It's very counterintuitive to what we're used to. There's no tutorial. They're like pretty much go to the biosystem lab, and then you realize that you can't, and it's trying to get there. We are out of time.
So a lot of current gamers, they play this game and they actually shit on it. It's
Yeah.
one of the
I
greatest,
actually like
honestly,
to add one
RPGs.
thing about that. There actually is a modernization hack for things like grinding.
Yes.
Yeah,
And you
also
walk
the
and
Steam
walking
version
faster.
is
And by the way, don't complain about the walking speed in Phantasy Star II until you play Phantasy Star III. That's the slowest walk I've ever seen. If you wanna get a hold of me or whatever, my email's on there. There's my Twitch. I stream rarely. My YouTube. I post stuff. That I don't know why I put that white as in blue. It's kind of hard to see there. Don't put underscore in there. More Traveler. Oh, I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you all for coming. You've been great. Have a good rest of the night.